Hearing researchers, why do they study deaf people? Before we go ahead and talk about that, I want to emphasize that this vlog's purpose is not to offend hearing people or to discriminate against them in any way, but it's important to start with a discussion, a dialogue that includes all the community. So far, over many years, majority of people would study different minority groups. For example, white people would study how black people are. Men study women, and so on. So you can't ignore social, cultural, or political influences. It's important to understand those influences and what you are studying, in what you are studying. It's important when hearing people study deaf people, it's important to keep all those things in mind as well, all these various issues that come up. Most people are aware when they study deaf community and deaf culture. There's the history of oppression, discrimination, and that will influence what results you see. So can a deaf person feel that they can trust a hearing researcher to be open and honest with them? Will the study become valid or not valid as a result of these biases? It might not be valid because of the relationship between the two groups, the majority hearing group and the minority deaf group. A hearing researcher's reasons for wanting to study what deaf people are all about, maybe they have a good heart, and maybe they do want to do the right thing. But it's really sad because there are many out there who don't. Because they're all in it for their own self-interest. They're not in it for finding out more about the deaf community. They're interested in progressing through tenure at the university level, that if they study and publish, they'll get a lot of money. So they're going to study deaf people thinking that's the easy way to do it. To get recognized with their name out there. And they think that in the hearing world there's so many people who are doing certain kinds of research that there are not enough people doing research on deaf people, that this topic could open doors for the researcher. And maybe the hearing researcher wants to use their own favorite language of English, and that might not be how the deaf people might want to respond, and so that linguistic conflict can show itself in the research as well. It's also important to get something back to the community that you're studying. It's great to know about the statistics that you're going to find out, the results of what your research are going to provide. But the political ability to make change happen in the community, to make things better, to improve people's lives, to understand what ASL is all about as a language, you need to be ready to provide assistance. But the researcher may not be in it to do that. They may be in it for their own self-interest. A hearing researcher may go in to study a deaf person or a deaf community for the wrong reasons. They may be interested in analyzing their own approaches to things, not about what the deaf people are all about. So where can that lead? It can lead to a lot of mistakes popping up in the results of the research. And the decisions may not be the right kinds of results that you might want to see. And when the study gets out, that can be hurtful to the deaf community because the results are not valid. It's really not about the researcher, him or herself, what they understand and what their politics and cultural experiences are. That's a dangerous thing to have happen. Also, it's very important to keep in mind that the researcher's interest in studying differences among different groups, such as between hearing and deaf groups, and how you want to compare the two, that's not necessarily the best way to go. You want to know what a group is all about, what comprises this group, what values they hold, and how they interact with each other. Don't worry about the interaction with other groups like the majority hearing group. Be concerned more about what the deaf people are all about. If you want to make your research better when you're researching what deaf people are all about, I think the time has come for hearing researchers to know a lot about the history of the deaf community before they go forward. there are many wonderful ideas that have emanated from the deaf community, and they may be worth studying. Now, also, we can do that. We can study our own people, our own lives, from our own perspective. But suppose a hearing person really has to be involved in that process. Okay, fine. So if you have a team of people, including a hearing researcher, perhaps, the deaf subject may be glad to see that there are deaf researchers involved as well, and that may be beneficial to the course of the study. There may be articles that can get published to describe what people think, maybe different interviews that take place, surveys, and such. The statistics that you're going to get are very important, of course. That's true. They're very valuable. But the personal view is also important. You don't want it to go off track. The cultural and political influences are very important. They can have a lot of weight in what happens with the research. So you really must have a deaf researcher involved in the study to make it a truly valid study. Next. Deaf people are often used to having people analyze them and their backgrounds and their experiences. It happens all the time. Okay, we're used to that. We're not blind to that it happens. But we may be curious to know what the study is for. What's the purpose of it? Are you interested in supporting the use of ASL in the deaf community? What is the main idea behind proposing this study? And if I don't feel that it really is beneficial, I may not want to be involved in it as a deaf person. It depends on where the power lies. Is it with the hearing researcher? Because if that's the case, that's really not the way it should be. You really want to have the deaf community feel empowered and to be involved in it. For example, at Gallaudet University, there are guidance counselors there who freely offer their opinions and advice to researchers who come. They think, wow, what a wonderful laboratory this is to look at deaf culture and deaf community and what deaf people are like and what their lives are like. So it provides a lot of data when all these researchers come and do their studies. So you provide the data to hospitals, to scientists, and they get to analyze it. And it's worth a lot of money. But they're using us as subjects. And they come and they research us, and then they are done with us. So what kind of study is that, really? Using us twice, once to become subjects and then to take advantage of us once you publish your results. In talking about the different kinds of journals, professional publications that are out there, the people who write these articles should really know the different perspectives and be fully aware of them. We should know what the backgrounds are of the authors of these studies, if they're from university, where they graduate from, and so forth. Who's deaf, who's hearing. It's important to know these things. It should be an equal, fair representation among the researchers. We should have no difference between deaf or hearing perspectives. We should be aware of all perspectives. We shouldn't have just two white researchers studying black people and two black researchers studying them alone. Would there be a difference if you have different researchers from different backgrounds studying the same group? Possibly so. Because the different experiences of the different researchers can influence the results of the study. So it's important to know who the researchers are.